Hey YouTube, so there has been an update in the whole Jay-Z versus Jane Doe sexual assault lawsuit where a woman is claiming that back in 2000, Jay-Z and Diddy raped her at a VMAs after party when she was only 13 years old. I'm not a Jay-Z fan, never been a Jay-Z fan, but even I was calling bullshit on this lawsuit in my initial video. The story just doesn't make sense. And then you have this shady ass lawyer, Tony Busby, involved, where it just doesn't feel right. This man opened up a hotline so that the public could call him to make claims against Diddy. He claimed he had over 200 cases within a short span. It just doesn't make sense. How could you possibly vet that many people in such a short amount of time? And then when you look at his track record and the fact that he's known for quote unquote legalized extortion, it was just obvious to me that this case was some bullshit. So NBC ended up doing an interview with this woman whose identity is still being kept secret. So she is going by Jane Doe. And after the interview, well, before NBC posted this interview on their platform, they made sure to do their own investigation. Which is what I respect about NBC. Unlike these other bloggers, these YouTubers, these media outlets, before NBC posted damning allegations on their platform, because when you are going to air that someone committed a crime, when you're going to tell the world that someone committed a heinous crime, you need to be able to back that up with some fucking evidence. The person that is making this claim on your platform needs to have receipts. So what I respect about NBC is like I said, unlike these YouTubers and these bloggers and these other media outlets, NBC did their own investigation and called out this woman's inconsistencies. Here's the video.
For yourself, you should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000 to catch a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, being chastised by their fans.
All right, Chloe Malas joining us.
All right, so y'all saw that interview, and like I told y'all in my initial video about the situation, the story don't make sense. And now it comes out that this woman is white, she's autistic, and she had a head injury. So this woman is mentally not all the way there. And no disrespect to people with autism. I know that autism exists on a spectrum. You have people who are high functioning, middle functioning, and low functioning. And I know that people who have mental disabilities or whatever you want to call it, I know that those people are capable of knowing what happened to them, of telling the truth, I know that those people have been victims. And I'm not saying that their mental disability should be used as a reason not to believe them, but we also have to take a look at the other aspects of this case. It makes absolutely no sense for an autistic 13-year-old to get a 5-hour ride to the VMAs. She was dropped off in Manhattan, 5 hours away from home, dropped off by herself. No one's with her, no parent with her, no chaperone. She doesn't even have a cell phone from what we know. She had to run to a gas station apparently to make a phone call. So this 13-year-old who has autism was driven 5 hours away from home and left by herself. And then the friend that she claimed drove her there is now dead. How convenient is that? So then she says that she was knocking on all these different limos trying to get a ride into the VMAs. And then she stumbles upon Diddy's driver who, who says he'll take her to the VMAs, and then he picks her up and takes her to an after party afterwards. She said that she was taken to a big white house with a U-shaped driveway. Well, Alex Spiro did a geographical investigation into that claim. There was never a big white mansion with a U-shaped driveway within 20 minutes of the VMAs. So then she says that, again, she's 13, she's autistic. She goes into this mansion with all these celebrities, and she says they're doing alcohol, they're drinking alcohol, they're doing coke, there's all sorts of drugs, and she was given a drink that made her feel lightheaded and woozy, okay? So the next thing she knows, she's in a room where Jay-Z rapes her first, and then Diddy rapes her, and then she somehow had the strength to punch Diddy, fight him off of her. She grabbed her clothes and ran out of this house. Nobody stopped her. Nobody asked her anything. This autistic girl who was just raped and drugged was able to punch a grown man in the neck, run out of this house without her clothes on. She got her clothes in her hand. She runs all the way to a gas station. Again, nobody stops her. Nobody calls the police. Nobody says anything. So she gets to this gas station and she makes this phone call, right? She calls her dad to come pick her up, right? So That means the dad would have had to drive 5 hours from home to come pick her up. She said when her dad picked her up, he didn't ask her anything. They didn't say anything. They didn't have a conversation. Are you kidding? Autistic or not, what do you mean your dad just drove 5 hours to come get you after not knowing where you were? He drove 5 hours to come get you and he didn't ask you nothing? Mind you, you was just allegedly raped and drugged. And I'm supposed to believe that your dad didn't ask you shit? When someone is assaulted, especially a child, especially someone who's on the spectrum, especially someone who was drugged, there's going to be signs of a struggle. There's going to be signs of distress. You were just violently raped by two grown-ass men, according to you, and you were drugged, and then you ran all the way to this gas station. You must have been sweaty. You must have been tired, probably red in the face, hair probably disheveled. Like, you probably looked a hot mess. And then your dad drove 5 hours to come get you. Your dad didn't call the police. You didn't call the police. Nobody called the police. And you're telling me he drove you back home for 5 hours and didn't ask you shit? Y'all didn't have a conversation? When I was raped at 5 years old, I can tell you exactly what happened after I was raped. And I'm a grown woman now. I was raped at 5 years old. I can tell you exactly what happened to me. I can tell you that after I was raped, I confided in two of my cousins. And then the next day, I can tell you the conversation I had with my grandmother and my mother. I can tell you where I threw my underwear after I was raped. I can tell you that I hid my underwear in a closet. I can tell you all of that. Now, granted, this girl is autistic. You know, she's on the spectrum and she probably has she's probably easily forgetful. But the fact that her story is being taken as a fact with no evidence, with all these holes in her story, what's really happening here? What's really going on here? She said that she had a conversation with Benji Madden, and they're confirming that they weren't even there. They were on tour in a different state. But she's saying that she's able to describe this conversation that she had with them. That turns out to be false. She never had this conversation with these two people. But she's telling us in detail that she spoke with him about a tattoo that he has. So if she can hallucinate a conversation with two grown-ass men, why can't she have hallucinated this supposed attack by Jay-Z and Diddy? I'm just saying. And this is not me being mean. This is not me being prejudiced. Please don't take this as me trying to defend Jay-Z. But my thing is this. Tony Busby is running with this narrative that Jay-Z is the boogeyman. He's the rich, powerful billionaire who is using his power to silence this woman. And, he's going to use his power to silence this victim. And, he's just so rich and he's the boogeyman because of his success. So, we're going after powerful people. This is the stance that Tony Busby is taking. My thing is this. If you know you're going after a powerful man, why wouldn't you make sure you have an ironclad case before you file this case in court and run to the press? You have no physical evidence. You have no DNA. You have no photos. You have no videos. You have no audio. You have no physical evidence. You have no geographical evidence. They've already debunked this white mansion with the U-shaped driveway. Several people that live around that area say there are no houses around there anyway. There was no Jumbotron. There was no Jumbotron. And then as an attorney who wants justice for their victim, why wouldn't you thoroughly vet this person and gather all the evidence and witnesses that you can before you take this case to court and run to the press? Why wouldn't you make sure you had an ironclad case? If you know that this Jay-Z is the boogeyman and he's a billionaire and he can get this thrown out of court, why wouldn't you do your due diligence to make sure you had an ironclad case before you took this to court? If it's really justice is what you're after. If you're really after justice, why wouldn't you make sure you did your due diligence to vet your client before you filed this case? NBC, before they posted that interview, they reached out to the Madden brothers They reached out to her father. They saw that Jay-Z and Diddy weren't even at a fucking house after the VMAs. Jay-Z was at a fucking nightclub. And there are reporters and other celebrities and journalists who were there covering that night who have vouched already for Jay-Z that he was not at no fucking after party at a house. If you're truly after justice for your client, why didn't you do this investigation before you submitted this case to the court? You could have easily reached out to this girl's dad. You could have easily reached out to the Madden brothers. You could have easily verified Jay-Z's whereabouts with other people. And now that her lies are being exposed on NBC, now you want to talk about, oh, she's going to do a polygraph. Why wouldn't you make her do the polygraph before you filed this case in court and ran to the press? Why didn't you do that beforehand? Because again, it's already going to be hard to prove this case. You have no physical evidence. You have no DNA. You have no text messages. You have no audio. You have no video. You don't even have a corroborating witness. You have nothing but her word. And then it comes out that she's autistic and that she had a brain injury. There are people with children and teenagers who are autistic, and they've said that their autistic child has hallucinations. They think that they've met people that they've never met. They think that they've done things that they've never done. They think that they've spoken to people that they've never spoken to. She hallucinated a conversation with the Madden brothers. So how are we supposed to believe that she did not hallucinate this incident with Jay-Z and Diddy? You have no other evidence otherwise to prove otherwise. You have no proof. So what leg did you have to stand on to take this case to court and run to the press? What proof or evidence do you have to back any of this up that gave you the courage and the confidence to run to the press? I don't care what nobody says. The way Tony Busby is moving, this is someone who was never looking for justice. This is someone who never thought he was going to have to prove any of this in court. What Tony Busby thought was going to happen, because he knows that Jay-Z doesn't want his name attached to this Diddy shit. Jay-Z has been silent about Diddy. Until this day, he has not spoken about Diddy. So it's obvious that Jay-Z don't want his name attached to this shit. And then Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce, is also famous. She also has businesses and a career and endorsements that she wants to protect. It's obvious that Jay-Z and Beyonce are a private couple. They don't get on social media and do what these other people do. They don't tell all their business. They're very private. They're very protective of their brands. So Tony Busby knows that Jay-Z does not want his name wrapped up in this shit. This shit will not only affect Jay-Z, it will also affect his wife. It will also affect his child. So Tony Busby thought that he was going to make Jay-Z reach a settlement outside of court to avoid bad press. He thought that Jay-Z, because of how protective Jay-Z is of his brand and because of how protective Beyonce is of her brand and the fact that their daughter had a movie come out this month, he used all of that as leverage to try to get Jay-Z to settle out of court. And he was so sure that Jay-Z was going to settle. But Jay-Z did not settle. Not only did Jay-Z not settle, Jay-Z also filed a lawsuit against Busby. Mind y'all, I want y'all to pay attention. Jay-Z, since day one, has gone after Busby. He's not going after this woman because it's obvious that this woman is not all the way there mentally. And it's very likely that she's being used by Busby's firm. When this whole thing first came out, an anonymous woman reached out to Alex Spiros, that's Jay-Z's lawyer. One of Busby's previous clients reached out to Alex Spiro, and she revealed to them that she went to the Busby firm to get justice because she was sex trafficked. And Busby was trying to get her to add Diddy's name to these allegations. And they tried to get her to say that she was drugged. She was given a drink and was drugged, and that she was raped by Diddy. These are false allegations that Busby allegedly tried to get her to add to her story. And when she refused to do so, they dropped her as a client. So to me, it seems like this autistic woman may have been victimized at some point in her life. She probably went to Busby for help, and Busby thought this was the perfect victim that he could use to go after Diddy and Jay-Z, because Tony Busby is after money. He's not after justice. If Tony Busby was after justice, he would have vetted this client. He later came out and said that he didn't actually vet her. A third-party firm vetted her, and they referred her to him. So he did not do an investigation of his own. He didn't give her a polygraph. He didn't vet her or speak to any witnesses or corroborate the story with her dad or with the Madden brothers. He didn't do any of that. He didn't feel the need to validate this story because he didn't expect to have to go to court. He thought Jay-Z was going to be scared enough to settle to prevent this from going public. And truth be told, I don't put nothing past Jay-Z or any man, but Jay-Z could have easily met with Busby and paid to make this go away. He could have easily done that. Busby gave him the opportunity to do that. Busby is notorious for legalized extortion. Please look into him. Jay-Z could have easily made this go away. He didn't have to do none of this shit. He could have paid Busby under the table whether he was guilty or not. And this would have never seen the light of day. So the fact that Jay-Z let this go public tells me that Jay-Z is likely innocent of this particular crime. It's just sick to me how in this country, you can just go file a case in court with no evidence, no corroborating witnesses. Then the victim, the accuser, has all these holes in her story. It's like, this is not going to hold up in a court of law. But yet, Busby was allowed to go to the press and slander this man's name and affect this man and affect this man's family. He was just able to freely do that shit. Now, according to Alex Spiro, apparently, Busby filed this case in a court that he's not even licensed to practice in. And because Busby filed this case where he's not even licensed to practice in the court, when this comes out that this is a frivolous lawsuit, Busby is going to be protected by sanctions, and this is according to Alex Spiro. Because Busby filed this case in a court that he's not licensed to practice in, when it comes out that this is a frivolous lawsuit, there aren't going to be any sanctions against Busby because it won't count as an actual lawsuit. Because apparently, you have to do your due diligence as a lawyer before you file a lawsuit like this. You have to do an investigation. You have to vet these claims before you file them in a lawsuit. And obviously, Busby did not do that. But Busby won't be held accountable for this because, again, he's not licensed to practice in this court. Therefore, this suit is not going to be looked at as official. And Busby himself confirmed that he did not, Busby himself confirmed that he is not licensed to practice in this court, because in this 3-page document that he made in response to Jay-Z's lawyer's request to dismiss the case, he said that he's currently trying to get admission to this court. So the way Megan Cuniff described it is, so Tony Busby is a lawyer from Texas, but this case is in New York. So in order for Busby to be able to practice this case in court in New York, he has to have a lawyer from New York pretty much sponsor him or co-sign him to be able to practice this in court. Tony Busby has not done that yet. And in that 3-page statement that he made the other day, he confirms that he's currently trying to get admission in that court. So this man, not only do you not have evidence of this crime, you don't have any corroborating witnesses, you didn't do a polygraph, you didn't you didn't vet your client before you took this public. On top of all of that, you are not even licensed to practice in this court that you filed the suit in. So again, to me, this is a lawyer who was not planning on going to court. This is a lawyer that was not planning on having to prove any of this in court. The fact that you can publicly defame someone's name, knowing that you have no proof at all of these allegations, it's insane to me. And it tells me that you are not after justice. If you were after justice, you would have done your due diligence to vet these claims, to investigate. You could have did the same thing that NBC did. You could have reached out to that girl's dad. You could have reached out to the Madden brothers. You could have verified Jay-Z's whereabouts the same way everybody else did. You could have given this girl a polygraph before you filed this suit and took this public. You could have done all of that before you took this public. If you truly wanted this to be a case that was going to stick, that was going to be proven as correct in a court of law, if you really wanted that to be the case, if you really wanted this case to stick, you would have done your due diligence before you filed it in court. But again, this is not about justice. This is not about the truth. This is about you thinking that you was going to be able to punk Jay-Z essentially into paying you, knowing you had no motherfucking evidence of this shit. And again, y'all, Jay-Z has not once attacked this girl. He has not gone after her. He has not spoken on her. Jay-Z has been going at this lawyer because Jay-Z believes that this lawyer put this girl up to this. He believes that Tony Busby is manipulating this woman into going through with these allegations. And people are saying, well, why don't Tony Busby take back the suit? Tony Busby can't take back the suit because Jay-Z is suing him for defamation. He's suing him for extortion. Jay-Z is coming from the position that Tony Busby filed this case knowing it was false in order to get money from him. So in order for Tony Busby to protect himself from Jay-Z's lawsuit, he got to go through with this case as if it's an actual case. Now, the judge has yet to respond to any of the requests from Jay-Z's law firm or from, not Jay-Z's law firm. The judge has yet to respond to Jay-Z's lawyer's request, and she has yet to respond to Tony Busby as well. Apparently, she's very busy. She has a ton of very high-profile cases that she's working on already. So we haven't heard from the lawyer yet. But it's just very sick to me how this man, Tony Busby, is potentially using sexual assault to get rich. Because frankly, y'all, I really don't care about Jay-Z. I don't really give a fuck about Jay-Z. What I'm mostly mad about is that this fucking lawyer is able to make a mockery out of our justice system. He's able to use the justice system to extort people. That's crazy to me. And then he's also able to use sexual assault to take advantage of people. This is something serious. This is something life-changing. This is something that will affect someone for life. And you're using it, you're capitalizing off of it to enrich yourself. On top of that, Tony Busby is a maggot. He's a diehard Trump supporter. Trump has several sexual assault lawsuits against him. And I'm supposed to believe Tony Busby gives a fuck about justice? It's insane. I don't know what should happen to the girl. A lot of people are saying that she should be jailed for lying. I don't know how I feel about that because, I mean, of course, anybody else who lies about sexual assault, they should be jailed, obviously. But this woman is mentally not all the way there. She's autistic. Apparently, she had a head injury. She may not be all the way there. She may have hallucinated this and is being taken advantage of by Busby. She may have hallucinated this. I mean, like I said, this case, like I said in my last video, this case went viral nationally and globally. Like, international news sites are talking about Diddy and all these fucking sexual assault cases. And, you know, Diddy is currently in jail for sex trafficking charges. Like, and then you have all these lawsuits coming out and they're all public. Everyone has access to them. The public has access to them. So it's very likely that this girl was keeping up with all the Diddy shit. And it's possible that she hallucinated that this happened to her. And then you have all the shit going on social media of people trying to pin Jay-Z and Diddy together and act like they're best friends and they were just going around raping bitches together. It's very possible that someone who's not mentally all the way there, or even someone who is all the way there, because there have been liars exposed who have been put in fake lawsuits against Diddy. It's very possible that she hallucinated this and that she's being taken advantage of by this crooked ass lawyer. It's very possible. Now they're saying that they said that she did a polygraph, and this polygraph, the results were supposed to come out on the 19th. And right now we're on the 23rd and we have yet to see this lawsuit. I'm sorry, this polygraph. Now we know that polygraphs are not admissible in court because polygraphs don't necessarily always show the truth. Some people can fake a polygraph. And especially if you believe your lies, like, a polygraph won't really let us know if it's the truth or not. But I find it funny that Busby swore that she was adamant about doing a polygraph and that we were going to see these results on the 19th. And here it is, the 23rd, and we haven't seen shit. If it comes out that Busby filed this case knowing this shit was fake and he did this to try to get money, he needs to be thrown in jail. And as far as the girl is concerned, it don't seem like Jay-Z is concerned with her. It seemed like Jay-Z is trying to go after Tony Busby. I mean, ever since this whole Jay-Z lawsuit with Tony Busby, all of a sudden all these lawsuits. Now, don't get me wrong, Tony Busby been had lawsuits out against him. Tony Busby's previous clients have been coming after him. But now there's like 2 more federal lawsuits that came out against Busby. You got his ex-girlfriend talking about, he abused her and gave her a venereal disease. And then you got another past client of his saying that Tony Busby scammed him. He was supposed to get $800,000, but he only ended up with $5,000. Like, so many other people are coming after Busby at this point, and on top of Jay-Z's lawsuit against Busby. So, and then Busby now trying to sue Roc Nation. It's just a whole clown show at this point. It's a clown show. And what's sad about this the most is that we're losing the plot. We were trying to get justice for victims, but now what we have is a fucking showdown between Jay-Z and Busby. So what I hope comes from this, what I hope comes out of all of this, even though Jay-Z's reputation is going to be looked at crazier than what it already was, I hope that if Busby is out here extorting people and taking advantage of victims, I hope he's held accountable. If this is what it takes to hold crooked ass lawyers accountable and liars accountable, it is what it is. But we'll never know. We never know what happens. So we got to keep waiting for more information to come out. And we'll just see what happens.